It all started because a college kid walked through an unlocked door. But why did a tiny lab become a national crisis? And why did the government get involved? Meet Dr. Edward Taub, a neuroscientist with one mission: prove that the brain can rewire itself. Back then, the idea was radical. If Taub was right, stroke victims could regain movement, amputees could adapt faster, and therapy could transform medicine. It was the kind of research that could make someone famous. But to unlock the brain's secrets, Taub needed subjects who couldn't speak, couldn't resist, and couldn't run. So he chose 17 macaque monkeys. His experiments were bold, controversial, and in a dark room behind a chiropractic clinic, he was about to cross a line science had never crossed before. Because to study nerve damage, he created it. Taub surgically cut nerves in the monkeys' arms, then restrained their healthy limbs to force their injured arms to move. It was ambitious, groundbreaking science, and it was about to explode in his face. If the research looked clean on paper, the reality inside that room looked nothing like it. Meet Nero, Billy, Paul, Sally, and Domitian, names written in faded marker above their cages. They weren't in a modern lab. They weren't monitored. They weren't cleaned. They lived in steel boxes smeared with feces, urine, blood, and old food. Some had untreated wounds. Some chewed on their own numb limbs. Others shook uncontrollably from stress. Nero, the monkey who would become the face of the scandal, often sat holding his useless arm like he was mourning a piece of himself. Veterinary oversight? None. Enrichment? Zero. These monkeys weren't research subjects. They were prisoners in a room no one was ever supposed to see, and the only thing standing between them and the outside world was a locked office door. Until one day, that door opened. Enter Alex Pacheco, just a young biology student looking to volunteer in a lab. At least that's what he told Dr. Taub. In reality, Alex was deeply involved in a new movement most of America had never heard of: animal rights activism. When Taub offered him a spot, Alex walked inside and froze. The smell hit first, then the cages, then the monkeys reaching for him with trembling hands. He didn't yell, he didn't panic. He simply said, "I can help clean." And Taub unknowingly let a whistleblower into the most vulnerable room in American science. Night after night, Alex returned. While Taub slept, Alex photographed everything: Nero's infected arm, Billy's wounds, broken restraints, piles of waste. He hid camera film in his socks. He listened for footsteps in the hallway. He whispered to the monkeys so Taub wouldn't hear. The more evidence he collected, the more he realized this wasn't just cruelty. This could be a crime. But who do you call when the criminals wear lab coats? Alex dialed the police. When Silver Spring police received Alex's report, they hesitated. They had never raided a laboratory before. Was it even legal? Did they have jurisdiction? Could they seize animals the government funded? The case bounced around confused officers, until one decision changed everything. On September 11th, 1981, police stormed the Silver Spring lab, the first police raid on an animal laboratory in U.S. history. Officers opened cages. Monkeys clung to them. Nero was pulled out shaking. Reporters snapped photos. Taub stood in shock as his life's work was carried out in cardboard crates. Overnight, the pictures hit the news. America was horrified. But this was just the beginning. Because the raid didn't end the story. It ignited a war. The photos spread like wildfire. Front-page headlines, television specials, protest lines forming outside the clinic. Scientists were furious, claiming Alex sabotaged a legitimate medical breakthrough. Animal rights groups saw it differently. This is torture, and we finally have proof. Donations poured in, activism exploded, and for the first time the country demanded to know what really happens inside American laboratories. Federal agencies got involved. Lawsuits launched from every direction. The FBI opened an investigation because federal research funds were involved. It was chaos, a national storm. And right at the center of it all were 17 monkeys caught between two worlds. But the biggest battle was still coming, a courtroom showdown that would drag the case into history. Dr. Taub was charged with 17 counts of animal cruelty, one for each monkey. It was the first time in American history a laboratory scientist faced criminal charges for mistreating research animals. Scientists panicked. Activists celebrated. But the courtroom drama took a turn no one saw coming. A judge declared that under existing law, the government couldn't regulate how laboratories treated animals, only whether animals were deliberately tortured. Suddenly, the charges began to crumble. Taub's convictions were overturned one by one. Activists appealed, scientists countered. The monkeys were transferred, then transferred again, bouncing between the NIH, PETA, and lab authorities like evidence in a political tug-of-war. At one point, even judges weren't sure who legally owned Nero. It was confusing, messy, exhausting. But the chaos was building towards something bigger, a law that would change America forever. Outrage didn't fade. It grew. Congress held hearings. Federal agencies rewrote policies. And in 1985, the U.S. passed the Animal Welfare Act amendments, the largest expansion of animal protection law in American history. Because of the Silver Spring monkeys, every research lab in the country was now required to provide veterinary care, psychological enrichment, exercise programs, ethical oversight committees. It was the first time animals in labs had rights on paper, all because one young activist walked into a neglected room and refused to stay quiet. But what happened to Nero and the others? In the years that followed, the monkeys lived fractured lives. Some died before the case ended. Stress, infections, complications from the experiments. Some were transferred to the National Institutes of Health. A few were placed in sanctuaries where they finally touched grass for the first time. Nero, the monkey whose outstretched arm became the symbol of the scandal, lived the longest. Caretakers said he was gentle, quiet, and carried the haunted look of someone who had seen too much. He never regained full use of his damaged arm, but he did live long enough to witness a world that finally knew his story. Most people remember the Silver Spring monkeys as a scandal, but maybe it was something more. A mirror, a warning, a reminder that progress without compassion leads to rooms no one ever wants to see again. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and tune in for more wildlife stories.